Well, hello and a very warm welcome to Business Today Television. I am Chetan, Bhutani. Well, at on the sidelines of the SIAM Convention, we've been speaking to the major auto companies and, of course, with their growth plans as well. And today I'm joined by the CEO, Automotive Division, Mahindra and Mahindra. Nal, thank you so much for joining us at Business Today. Of course, the rest questions can wait. The 3XO and, of course, the Thar 5-door has gained a lot of popularity. It's about 15-20 days down the line the launch happened. How's the response with the customers? I mean, are you getting calls on your phones? Please get us this car ASAP. Tell us that.
Yeah. Thank you for having me here, Chetan. So, Thar Rock's launch and the response we have got has been truly humbling for us, right? It is not just the glowing reviews we have got from the media, it's just the love that we have got from the customer base overall. And as I was saying, it feels like the brand belongs to the country and not just to M&M to that extent. So overwhelmingly good response. Obviously, a lot of conversations, a lot of folks reaching out for the vehicle. We have test drives starting in about a week. This weekend we'll start the test drives, and there's a lot of interest in that. And then bookings will start on October 3rd, and we're looking forward to a very strong festive season with that.
But also, and when we reviewed the Thar 5-door, there was a subsequent response on the 4x4 and the pricing that it has to be, come out at. So when are we expecting the 4x4 and the basic details about that?
The 4x4 prices should be launched pretty soon. Of course, with the test drives coming in, it should happen pretty quickly with that as well. And but of course, the media has already figured out a way to calculate the numbers and stuff like that. So I think we will be there. So I think it should be a very strong pull, not just for the two-wheel drive, but for the four-wheel drive as well. But the critical piece, it is a lifestyle vehicle. It can do off-roading on a pinch if you want. It has very strong capabilities on off-roading. But the way we have positioned the vehicle is, it is very much a lifestyle vehicle which you can use anywhere in an urban setting and really taps into that part of the market.
Right. Also, now, moving focus towards the talk of the town is, of course, EVs. Yesterday, the Senior Minister Nitin Gadkari mentioned about how in 2 years' timeline we can expect the prices of EVs and ICE vehicles, traditional fuel vehicles, to come at par. You are also venturing into EVs now. What is your opinion on this?
Yeah, so we are extremely gung-ho and optimistic on the EV domain, but it's still very early days. The market is at about 2% penetration at this point in time. So it does need a little bit of nurturing and policy support for us to be able to scale it up. In a market like India, which is value conscious, scale is what gets us cost competitiveness. And to get us the scale, we need policy support. So we are hoping that we'll have these conversations with the government. These are robust conversations, but they'll lead to a point where we continue to support EVs.
Right, and policy measures you mean by a FAME 3 scheme or something else that you're looking forward to?
No, it could be a whole bunch of different things. Obviously, they've been extremely proactive in terms on the GST front. They've been very proactive with us. A lot of states have been supporting with road tax and registration benefits as well. But beyond that, I think we need to look at charging infrastructure. That's a critical area of support. As a nation, we need to build that infrastructure. We need to have at-scale EV penetration. So the few other areas we'll have to look at beyond just schemes that we have. PLI has been extremely helpful. FAME has been quite helpful as well.
And also, many auto majors have been usually complaining about, certain flip-flops by the state governments when it comes to taxation and incentives on EVs. Some states announce taxes, some, increase in taxes, some announce a rollback, which creates a kind of a demand and a supply pressure. Are you also facing the same?
So, in an ideal situation, we want a uniform policy across the different states, but we do recognize each and every state has its own dynamics of constraints and compulsions overall. But the good news is they're all very receptive to having a conversation, and we continue to have those conversations with the stakeholders in each of the states, and they've been quite receptive so far.
And now I'd like to ask you on, since we're talking about incentives also, is there really a need now for EVs, considering the market has kind of taken off for EVs? Of course, there's a critical infrastructure problem that we are facing, but do you think there's a need for EV incentives right now, or should the government really roll back and let the industry deal on its own?
Yeah. So like I said, we are at 2% penetration at this point in time. It's very early days. We are 5 years into the policies being rolled out. If you take GST into consideration, 2019, so it's been about 5 years. If you see any of the countries where EVs have gone to very high penetrations, 20 plus, 25 plus, normally these policies have about 10 to 15 year gestation period before you see real impact in the market, right? You take China, for example, right? They're at 25% penetration today. It's been 15 years since they had very strong friendly policies for EVs. So you need time and effort. So we are hoping that we'll have continued policy support on that front.
Sure. And also, the second quarter for the year is always usually a little bit slower because of, holidays and people, going on vacations, and the purchasing things doesn't really take off, which leads to slower numbers. Companies have reported slower numbers for second quarter. Are you anticipating this time, this slowdown, because of any special reason? Because, there have been elections in the country. There have been various reasons like, EVs launches coming up and consumers are waiting. What reason are you anticipating for this slowdown? Is it temporary or will it continue for the time being?
Yeah. As you know, we don't give specific guidance for periods. Sure. We stand by our guidance we have given for the year that in the UV space, we would do mid to high teens of growth. And if you see YTD so far, we are at about 20% growth. And so we are optimistic that we'll continue to be in the 15 to 20% range in terms of growth overall. Specifically for the festive season, we don't see any reason to be concerned at this point in time. Okay. With the two new launches that we have had and the existing traction on the brands that we have, I think we are optimistic about the festive season.
And of course, the festive season is upon us, and you would not give me any guidance for that. Sure, I know Mahindra doesn't. But, there's been a general debate about inventory piling up with the dealers and with the OEMs. Dealers mentioning a different number, OEMs mentioning a different number. What's the scenario at Mahindra, and is there a cause of concern as an overall industry player?
Yeah. So we're quite sensitive about dealer inventories. At the end of the day, we want them to be successful and profitable. That's the only way we can keep a robust ecosystem. So we watch closely Vahan registrations, and that's a single source of truth. And if you see Vahan registrations against billing, we are at about 93%. Oh. And so we are ahead of the industry from that perspective. And so we don't see a sense of concern at this point in time.
And, the government is now, little bit started opening up to get EVs to China now, from Chinese EVs to India. There have been lot of FDI approvals that have already happened. Is there a concern for a big player like you to have EVs getting dumped in India, and the local players, might get sort of impacted with the volumes and, consumers buying that brands? Is there a cause of concern there?
So our stand on this is it has to be a level playing field. Indian OEMs over a period of time have been making investments in the space. So if other brands are wanting to come into India, they're welcome. But to play with the same rules that we have and with the same playing field.
Right. Also, the last question to you. The government has recently, announced with SIAM about, giving discounts under scrappage certificate. Mahindra is also being a part of it. How good the scheme is, and would it be impactful to your books in any way? And in the long run, do you think it will really help consumers buy a good vehicle and promote healthy recycling?
Yeah, so firstly, a very huge support of the circularity economy, which the government is pushing for. And so we have signed up to the same policy with SIAM. Can it be helpful? I think it can be helpful. There is, as the ministry was saying, there's a huge number of vehicles which are out of life at this point in time. And so if we can bring that back, we think we can have significant savings in terms of steel, which can be recovered over that. Okay. And therefore, we are rolling out the schemes that we put out in terms of price discounts. So we are quite supportive.
And, we are, right now somebody was saying that, the best time to buy a car is now because OEMs are offering good discounts. What's the discounting thing at Mahindra right now?
Yeah, so as always, there's always going to be some tactical schemes we put out there. But overall, like I said, we have had strong traction across our entire brand portfolio. And so what we are offering to our customers are those brands.
Right. And of course, I'd like to also conclude by asking you what's next at Mahindra. Thar is being, rolled out, the traction it has got. But of course, you need to keep rolling out to, get consumers' interest. I'd like to ask you on EV. Is there anything coming up in EV in the near future?
Yeah, we've been talking about our BE portfolio. And these are truly born electric SUVs that we'll be putting it out there. You should expect to see something within the next couple of quarters. Okay. And these are vehicles which, like the Thar and the Scorpio N, will get your pulse racing. And these are lifestyle SUVs which happen to be EVs. And
we eagerly look forward to, lifestyle SUVs in EV formats. Thank you, Nal, for speaking to Business Today Television. Pleasure as always to speak to you. So that was Nal, the CEO of Automotive Division at Mahindra & Mahindra, talking about how the EV ecosystem is important, and of course how important the portfolio of battery electric vehicle would be for Mahindra. If you've been watching, thank you so much.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.